Nearly 6 decades after Jimmy quit and Jody got married, the band that inspired that Canadian classic is back. Jim Vallance was the co-writer on Bryan Adams' hit Summer of '69. It was inspired by his first band, the Tremolones, later known as Foremost. And last night, they reunited at their old stomping ground, Nechako Valley Secondary School in Vanderhoof, BC. There, they were playing some songs, they shared some memories, relived the best days of their lives, and they also did a bit of good too. To tell us all about it, I'm joined by Juno-winning songwriter and producer Jim Vallance. You know what? You were a band that tried real hard, but obviously everyone loves to still hear you. I want to start by asking you how it was getting up on the stage with your old bandmates.
It was such a thrill. I mean, we've kept in touch all these years. I met these guys when I was 13 in grade 8. And my dad got moved every 2 years, so I was only in Vanderhoof for 2 years, but we kept in touch after that. So I see them once a decade, maybe go back for a school reunion or something, but last night was special. It was the first time we've actually played together in, 60 years, I think.
You know, it's amazing to look at some of the old photos and to think that you've got those friendships still. And, you know, we were just listening to the song, of course, Summer of '69. You're talking about the best days of your life. You've clearly had many more best days of your life. Major career highlights. You were a songwriting partner with Bryan Adams. You've written songs for Bonnie Raitt, Aerosmith, Carly Simon, Rod Stewart. Oh my goodness, the list is literally going on and on and on. And those are just to name a few. How surreal has it been for you, considering everything you've accomplished over the course of your music career?
Well, I mean, it was a long, slow burn. I mean, Bryan and I started off, well, even before I met Bryan, I was in a Canadian band called Prism. But once I met Bryan in 1978, I mean, it was not overnight success by any stretch. We worked really hard for the better part of 5 years until Bryan and I had a hit together with his Cuts Like a Knife album. And then as things progress, then the phone starts to ring, you have a hit, and then other people want to write with you. So, you know, Steven Tyler, Ozzy Osbourne, other people started calling. So it kind of becomes your normal. I mean, these are fun people to spend time with. There's no pressure. It's hard work, but really enjoyable. So, yeah, sometimes I stop and pinch myself. It's been a wonderful ride, I have to say.
I think it's important for you to explain that it wasn't overnight success. You are a lesson in perseverance. You really stuck with it despite some of the highs and lows of this career. But let's talk about some of the highs. Summer of '69 started with a blank piece of paper. And how long did it take to come up with the song once it was entirely finished?
It was kind of an on-again, off-again thing. So Bryan and I mean, every song, like you said, starts with a blank piece of paper. Bryan and I sitting in a room just staring at a blank page. And we started that song with a discussion about, well, what do you want to write about today? And we decided we would write about our first bands, our first guitars, our first girlfriends, and that sort of thing. And then one line at a time, the page starts to fill up with lyrics. And we finished the song in a day or two. We thought it was finished, but it wasn't called Summer of '69. It was called Best Days of Your Life, Best Days of My Life. And it stayed like that for maybe a month. And we had another listen, and we went, you know, I think there's a better title somewhere. And tucked away in the first verse, I think the third line of the first verse was, it was the summer of '69. So we thought, Summer of '69, that's got a great ring to it. If you remember your English class from high school, that's called alliteration, Summer of '69. And it's pleasing to the ear. So we just took that phrase and shoehorned it into a few empty spots later in the song and changed the title of the song to Summer of '69. And that's how that happened.
You know, I do want to get to the fact that you've gifted your school some pretty cool mementos. There's also a scholarship now in your name. But first, I just really want to ask really quickly, do you ask a lot whether Jordy, as we know, Gordon, is still married?
He is. Well, he was with us last night with his wonderful wife, Dixie. So, yeah.
Decades later.
Yeah, when Bryan and I were writing the song, I mean, I have to not take undue credit here. There were two people in the room, and Bryan was drawing on memories from his first band when he was, I think, 15 or 16. It was called Shock, and his first school, you know, and girlfriends and that sort of thing. So it's definitely a collaborative effort. But when Bryan and I were sitting there, I said, what about Chuck quit, or the other guy in the band was Woody. What about Woody quit and Gordy got married? And Brian said, no, 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 no. And he said, what about Jimmy quit and Jody got married? And I agreed that just sounded better. So that's how that came to be.
It's pretty funny because Jim did quit, but look at you now.
No.
Okay, what's your message then to the school? What are the gifts that you gave some of the students there?
Well, it was one of my former bandmates who still lives in Vanderhoof, who approached me about a year ago and said, what do you think about a scholarship? He said, there's so many talented kids in this town, who could use opportunities. So I just immediately said yes, but I would lend my name to it. And then as things progressed over the last year, I've won 4 Junos. For posterity, they're in an archive in Ottawa, but the one that I have, the one that I kept, that's been on my shelf for the last 30 plus years, I donated to the school. So it's now going to live in a display case in the school hallway.
You know, I'm so thankful that I got to chat with you. And if only Jim Vallance from 1969 could see where he ended up, I think he'd be so proud. It's so nice to chat with you. Thank you again, Juno-winning songwriter and music producer, Jim Vallance.
Thanks for having me.